Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of the Netcode podcast. Today, I'm joined by a few faces you might not be too familiar with, so we'll just go down the line. We've got Ben, aka the Gaming Geek 15, who's does Call of Duty, Sims, a bit of everything on his channel. So he's not a member of the Battlefield community that a lot of the guests I'll probably get on. They're sort of from that general area. So a new face there, and we've got Denny. Or Pikey, whose webcam has just gone black for some reason, but he is there. Pikey from Twitter, he's just starting to get into YouTube as well. Uploaded a video today of some Forza 5 motorsport gameplay, a cheeky little commentary there, which I certainly did enjoy. And then finally we have Pico, also another YouTuber he sort of came from the Call of Duty community, but moving into all sorts of different things.
Yep.
Great commentaries, that kind of thing. Definitely would recommend checking out all of these guys. Their links and everything, as always, will be down below. So just to cover a couple of things before we get into the topics. Firstly, you'll notice that I'm not with my co-hosts from last week, Mac and Minder. The podcast might be undergoing some changes. Obviously, this is very early on in the little project, I guess you could call it, and we're sort of figuring things out as we go. And this Saturday recording slot that we're in now and uploading on Sunday works a lot better in terms of getting American guests on, which is always good to get the Americans' perspective, I find, because the cultural differences are actually quite interesting between the UK and the US. And especially for the topics we've got today, you'll see why I wanted some American guests on. And recording it in the week doesn't really work out that well for that. So we'll see how it goes. This might be the kind of new format. I'll just get different people on every week. And then hopefully you guys will get to see a nice variety of people and a nice variety of opinions. So, without further ado, we've got some serious topics that we'll get into a little bit later on. But let's start off with a nice light-hearted gaming one and talk about Titanfall, the absolute success that game was. I think on my channel, I've my video about Titanfall sort of not living up to its expectations did quite well, actually. So everyone knows my opinion on that. And they have added a lot of things in since release, to be fair to them. So, I think it's a little bit too late for that kind of thing. It's too little too late, maybe. But what we wanted to specifically talk about this time around is the new 8 versus 8 game mode, Pilot Skirmish, I believe it's called. And it essentially involves no AI, so none of the bots, the grunts, the spectres, they're not in it at all. And no Titans. It's Titanfall without Titans. Which is actually something the Call of Duty community was kind of asking for from the beginning, but then they don't really know what they want, do they? But yeah, Pico, we'll jump in with you, because you've actually played the mode. And so what are your thoughts?
Okay, I feel weird with that, feeling like I repeated myself, but okay, all right. So first of all, I feel like this game mode was kind of implemented at a weird time, especially this late into the game when people were asking for this game mode back in March and April, when the game was at its peak or whatever. And number two, like, this mode was implemented pretty lazily, I think, because number one, when you get into a match, it still makes you choose a Titan loadout, which doesn't make sense to me. You figure in a pilot versus pilot mode, they would have taken that out completely. And only until now that I noticed that the second tier perk is only really relevant if you have Titans involved, because most of them only affect the Titans besides the Ice Pick perk, which is kind of pointless to me.
Yeah.
And then also it's 8 versus 8, but even then, you could only have a maximum of 6 players in a full party. So it's just like you can't get 8 of your friends together. It's only 6. But then again, who has 8 friends online, right? But
8 people playing Titanfall on your friends list?
Yeah, nobody. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I had a lot of theories of how I felt the game mode would play out and how I feel players would have played it, and pretty much it's 100% accurate. Number one, the maps. I mean, even though they're built with a good balance of Titans and pilots, when you just have pilots in there, the maps are really freaking big, and they're very intricate, so the amount of places people can be and attack you from is almost infinite. So it's nearly impossible to engage somebody or trying to find a a flank route without somebody else being, either behind or below or to the side of you. And not only that, but now that there's a legitimate challenge, without the bots being implemented, now people have to actually shoot at somebody, a real person. So of course, being that they actually have a challenge now, they're going to use the cheapest tactics as possible in order to get those kills. So in the pilot versus pilot game mode, you see a lot more cloaked snipers at high points. You see a lot more smart pistols. And not only that, but I never noticed people using those. I don't know what you call them, the proximity mines. Do you know do you know what the name of those are called?
The arc mines, is it?
No, the ones you put on the floor and then they explode or whatever. I forgot the exact name of those.
The explosive ones.
Yeah.
The satchel charges.
Yeah, they just stick to a surface.
I don't remember, dude. I haven't played Titanfall in a while.
Okay, sorry, but I never saw people use that. Everybody just either used arc mines or these satchel charges. But of course, being that people are camping more, they're gonna try to cover their ass more. So they'll put a lot of those around them in order to protect them from their little camping hiding spots. So honestly, unless you find a good lobby where people are actually moving around and not, using the smart pistol or camping sniper, it's pretty terrible. I haven't had that much of a fun experience playing it, and the game just isn't built, for this type of game mode. At least now it isn't. So that's just my rant.
Yeah. So kind of mixed feelings there, really. It's kind of seems like, obviously they've kind of shoehorned it in. Titanfall was a game designed surprisingly with Titans in mind.
Yeah.
And when you take that out, a lot of things start to not make a lot of sense. Denny, I saw you actually tweet about this the other day. About what you thought about Pilot Skirmish. I don't know if you want to elaborate at all on anything Pico said. I don't even know if he's there, to be honest.
I don't think it's there. I think he backed out or.
All right. Well, we'll move on to Ben. Ben, you said technical problems in the second episode. We're doing well.
Something just. I don't know what happened there.
But
something happened.
But yeah, I mean, you're a guy who plays both Call of Duty and Titanfall and a load of other games. And I think you came from, like me and Pico, from a more COD background.
Yeah.
And I think that what excited people a lot about Titanfall when it came out was that it was different.
Yeah.
And I just, what do you kind of feel about them kind of regressing almost, it feels like, towards COD?
I mean, like you said, it felt like it had its own thing. It felt like it was something new that we hadn't seen before. It was exciting. It was a different type of gameplay. We weren't going to get a lot of campers. We weren't going to get a lot of these other downsides that we get from Call of Duty. And it just had this movement, and the Titans were amazing. Mechs were amazing. We haven't seen that properly in a multiplayer game like this before. And it just feels like since then, the guys really don't know what the game is about. It's like they've done this one mode that works really well. But apart from that, they just don't know where to go with it, and they're just clutching at straws, adding things in that don't really work well, weren't really what the game was about. And I think this is just another sort of demonstration of that, is that, this thing has been implemented. It doesn't technically work very well in the game. It doesn't suit the game very well. There are things that show that it was implemented quite roughly, and it wasn't something they'd ever planned to put in. So I mean, it just seems bad. It just makes me, cringe a little, I'm wishing that they'd have done something better with it, wishing that they'd have, taking it in a new direction like they said they really were going to.
Yeah, I mean, I said this, we were chatting about this before the show, and I said I kind of feel like a lot of games they take too much influence from other successful franchises when what they should really be doing is focusing on their own unique selling points. It's something we've seen.
It's just a matter of taking the good aspects of it, or of different.
Well, true, but I mean, to a certain extent, I do think that they sometimes in the quest for, obviously, Call of Duty is the big dog for FPSs, and it has been for some time now. And I think that in multiple other franchises like Battlefield, Titanfall, even Gears of War to a certain extent, I think they have this sort of Call of Duty in a bid to try and compete with that big dog. They have started introducing stuff that doesn't really work with the core values and that sort of with the hardcore elements of their games. With Gears
Yeah,
of War, we saw them move away from the fast-paced Nasher wall bouncing craziness that made it so successful and made it so fun, and they started making the assault rifles more powerful and made it so that you could have different play styles and vary up your play style. We've heard, which is apparently what Ghosts was supposed to do.
Yeah,
and we all know how that worked out. And the same thing with Titanfall was always a very casual game from the start. It's what I said in my video. It's what many people have said. But at least it had a sort of very clear design philosophy, and it was bringing that new stuff to the table. It had the parkour and it had the Titans. And although I haven't actually had a chance to play this new game mode in Titanfall, I've heard multiple people say that it's almost a disadvantage to use the parkour and that kind of thing in it. It's reduced down to being played like Call of Duty. And that's not what we want from Titanfall. We want, we want that different experience. And it just seems such a shame that they can't stick to their guns a little bit more.
Yeah.
But,
I was honestly like, I think with this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I think, and this is kind of silly, but being that this game, it's obviously trying to, at least in my opinion, trying to cater to that Call of Duty crowd or whatever. Why not implement some sort of reward for going on a streak? You know what I mean? Like, why not have like a maximum of like 1 or 2 Titans per side? If somebody goes like on a 7 streak or maybe a 10 streak, I don't know what would be a good number for that. And or maybe have like a lower streak where you get rewarded for a limited amount of time. That, like, you know how you get that map hack burn card or whatever. If you go like on a 4 or 5 streak, give that to a player. Because I mean, I've played a couple of games where I actually went on a long streak, but it felt empty because there was no. I mean, unfortunately, I come from Call of Duty, so I'm used to all those rewards being thrown in my face when all those numbers and streaks and stuff. Because we're children, so we need a gold star for when we do a good deed. You know, and it doesn't give you any of that. So it's just like, what's the point of going on a 10 streak if there's no benefit to it? Big freaking deal. So I mean,
I kind of found the base game of Titanfall to be quite ridiculously easy as well. It's not difficult to do well in that game, especially you don't even have to be that good as a pilot. Obviously, there's the AI and various other ways you can get score to contribute to your Titan. And once you get that Titan, I always thought I was a much stronger Titan player. Especially give me a Strider and the XO16 machine gun, and I that was just an absolute beast at just mowing down. It was crap against other Titans, but you could avoid them and just go for the player kills. And I would rack up so many pilot kills in that thing, win the match of attrition without dying, and I'd be like, okay, great. Like, it didn't really feel like I'd achieved that much. Whereas if I'm not necessarily suggesting the Titan be made a kill streak, but like you said, the map hack thing is a really good idea. Having some kind of VSAT Blackbird type kill streak would be really good, and there's a lot of other things I'm sure they could think of. It's just
I mean, who knows if this is even going to stay around? I mean, maybe this is just like an experiment to see, what people's opinion on this. I mean, because no doubt they're throwing ideas or they're implementing things to see what works and doesn't for their next title. Which assumably is, going to be better. At least I hope.
Hopefully,
yeah. But you know what I thought about the other day? Like I said before, I think the game was built really more for attrition than any other game mode. I mean, I know domination or whatever they call it in this game, and capture the flag, people play that too. But essentially, the base game is just a 3D first-person shooter version of Pac-Man. It's to see who can gobble up the most points in the fastest amount of time. That's all it is.
I actually feel like CTF was one of probably the most exciting game mode to play on that game.
Yeah.
The problem with CTF was, in publics anyway, that people would abuse the fuck out of satchel charges and arc mines, and they would just camp the flag sites. Whereas we set up a little competitive tournament with a load of other Battlefield YouTubers and that kind of thing a while back, and it was a lot of fun playing CTF with a kind of like-minded group of individuals, and we kind of had a gentleman's agreement to not camp the site too much and not abuse satchel charges and that kind of thing, and it worked really well. It was really, really close, really tense, and I feel like if they'd streamlined that experience a little bit more and brought it to publics, because I mean the whole thing is if you put stuff in the game that can be abused, it will be abused, and I don't understand why they didn't just ban like proximity. To be honest, proximity explosives seem to ruin every single game that they're in.
Yeah.
I don't see the need for them in a lot of first-person shooters, to be honest.
The only game that I remember them being balanced was COD 4 because there was like a second delay between them, and you could, even if you didn't have the speed perk, you could run and jump over them. So I think that was pretty good. But
yeah, although COD 4 then did have like frag times 3 and stuff as well. So.
Oh shit! Don't remind me, please.
But yeah, unless we have any more to add to that, I think we'll leave Titanfall there and move on to something that I've been wanting to talk about actually for a while since it happened. And this is the whole swatting phenomenon that's currently sweeping the internet. It's not a new thing, which I think will surprise some people. It's actually been around for a while. Some quite high-profile celebrities have been victims of it in the past, but it really has come to the fore in the gaming community recently because a couple of quite well-known streamers and YouTubers have been victims of this pretty ridiculous prank, I guess. Namely, Kootra, the well-known YouTuber, was streaming some CS:GO, and live on stream, a load of heavily armed police officers burst into his room, threw him to the ground, and started going through his phone and that kind of thing. It seemed pretty over the top from my perspective, from the police officers involved. But of course, the real core problem with swatting is that there are just dickheads out there who think that it's funny to put people's lives in danger, because it really is only a matter of time before someone gets hurt or worse because of this.
Well, I mean, it could have happened on this last time just now because, I mean, they thought that this guy had a gun and he was taking people hostage, already shot some people. Yeah. And, I mean, there was a school nearby. There was so much opportunity for someone to get... Yeah.
I mean, the police officers, they roll up and into what they think is an incredibly hostile, tense, dangerous situation, kind of ready for anything, guns raised. And all it takes is one false move, really. And someone's going to get seriously hurt. So, obviously, I don't think it's really up for debate that the swatting itself is just fucking stupid beyond belief. It's like it's worse than any. I mean, things like DDoSing and stuff like that obviously are an inconvenience and they're annoying. And the people who do it,
DDoSing, but yeah.
Well. Yeah, obviously DDoSing on the scale that I actually spoke about on last week's podcast, where they attached the PlayStation Network and that kind of thing.
And a lot of places as well.
Yeah, obviously, it can affect a large number of people and it can damage the business and that kind of thing. DDoSing on a personal level, like with YouTubers and streamers, is just kind of, retarded trolls who live in their mum's basement and need to get outside more. But yeah, so obviously it's pretty much taken as read that it's a stupid fucking idea. But what I wanted to really talk about was the police role in the whole thing, because they don't seem. It's like I said, it's been around for a while now, and at no point does SWAT teams seem to be aware that it might be a prank. They always turn up full force, full sort of aggression, without at any point stopping to think, well, maybe actually.
But the thing is,
there's not a fucking serial killer in there.
I don't want to cause any offense, but no offense, but that does seem a bit like America to me, that they'll just go in guns blazing first. And that's quite
well, this is why I wanted an American perspective.
I mean, we don't know exactly what was said in the SWAT call. I mean, I don't know if that's been released or not, but apparently it was serious enough for them to shut down schools and all that shit around that area. So, to me, that just makes sense for them to go in as hard as possible in order to defuse the situation.
Yeah, of course.
But this is the way I see it. If at any point, I doubt it, but just hypothetically, if you become this internet celebrity, whether it be gaming or any other avenue, I would actually take the precautions and let the police department know, my local police department know that things like this may happen, and maybe there is something they could do in order to see whether or not it's a legitimate phone call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't see why. I mean, I'm pretty sure a few big YouTubers have taken that precaution, but I don't see why more people don't do the same thing. Like, people are dickheads on the internet, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the time the people that are making these absurd SWAT calls are covering their tracks enough for them not to be, tracked down, whatever method that they're using for it. But I mean, shit like that is serious, and it takes a very serious phone call in order for the police to react in this manner. It takes a very it can't just be anybody saying anything. It takes a legitimate phone call for something like this to happen. But the one thing that I'm freaking worried about is that if you look at this controller, you hold it with both hands, it looks fine, right? But imagine if somebody just comes in through that door, you're gonna have at least only one hand on that controller, and if you turn around like this, what does that fucking look like? You know what I mean? Like, just
yeah, it's a problem.
It's a scary thing to me, you know. Like, I'd probably turn around in the same manner with this held in my hand, and then you have a police officer that's, all amped up on adrenaline, hand on the finger on the trigger. Something fucking bad could happen, but I don't know. Like I said, I wish the police would take more precautions as far as responding to things like this, but they can't take chances. But at the same time, a lot of the police aren't up to times with what's going on the internet.
No, they don't really understand.
Yeah, that's often the problem. I think that they're kind of, it's taking a long time for both lawmakers and the police and that kind of thing to catch up with what's actually going on. And they're kind of, I mean, essentially, really, the people that are getting pranked the most are the police, almost, rather than the victims.
Yeah,
I mean,
because the taxpayers, it costs a lot of money for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge cost of money to send a SWAT team out with all of their gear and that kind of thing. And of course, not only is there a risk that that something could happen when the SWAT team get there, something could be misconstrued and someone could get hurt there. But of course, while the SWAT team are responding to that call, some actual emergency could be happening, across town, and they're not there to deal with it. And that would just be, I think it might take either one or two of either one of those things happening to really.
There needs to be a martyr in order for a change to happen. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's something serious is going to happen, and then finally they'll kind of sit up and take notice. Okay, we need to look at this and work out what to do about it. Obviously, you can't really do anything about the fact that people are fucking idiots on the internet. They're gonna try and abuse the system if they can, but it's a bizarre situation that you kind of find yourself in when an internet troll, all he needs is a method for disguising his phone number, the victim's address, and a good story, and suddenly he has like minions. He has like a SWAT team at his disposal to direct where he wants. And it's kind of scary that that's the situation we kind of find ourselves in at the moment.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, especially all of us that we do things online. It's kind of a scary reality in case anything were to happen that way. Got to be prepared to some degree mentally when you decide to put yourself in a public forum like YouTube or something like that, or Twitch, whatever it is.
Yeah, and then so the other thing I wanted to kind of expand into off of this was I watched a documentary actually on Vice, I think, which was kind of about swatting, and they were kind of interviewing police officers, and they were at a firing range and that kind of thing. And what really struck me, and this is always difficult as a UK citizen, I've lived in the UK my whole life, where obviously guns don't really feature in our culture very much at all. And what really struck me was that there are these police officers turning up in armored trucks, military hardware, with AR-15s and shotguns, and often actually dressed in camo, in combat fatigues, rather than the traditional, blue and black kind of police style uniforms, and that seemed really off to me, because I feel like police officers and soldiers should never resemble each other. They should never. You should never be able to mistake one for the other, because they are not the same thing. I mean, the police's role is to protect and serve, not to breach and clear.
But at the same time, if you get a serious enough situation, like let's say if there was a legitimate SWAT call, if all that was taken away from them, would that make them less effective to defuse whatever situation that could possibly be happening? You know, because even though, like, you're right, you know, it seems like more and more they're becoming militarized. But does that mean, like, if a situation like that was needing something to that degree, to have to wait for the legitimate military to get there if it needed? You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about it in that way too.
It's a difficult call, and like I said, it's kind of hard for people from the UK, I think, to really get a handle on it, because I'm
from Texas, man. We're born with a freaking gun in our crib, dude. Like you know, it's your human right to own a firearm, and at least in my state, you know. Hell, if the United States were to try to remove firearms from everybody, you better believe we'd be seceding from the Union. Like, I'm not, because our state is so big. War. Yeah, like, our state is big enough to sustain ourselves. We have enough oil and resources and everything to sustain ourselves as a single entity. Heck, I think my state is bigger than the entire country of the UK, if I'm not mistaken.
It definitely is. Texas is freaking huge.
So yeah, that'd be the biggest joke America could pull if they try to do that shit to Texas. That wouldn't happen, but it's a scary thing, man.
Yeah, for me, and I don't know if you've got a view on this, Ben. Feel free to interject at any time. But my kind of view is that it would be better for everyone, as a kind of up here on my high throne of English supremacy. I'm like, I think it would be better for everyone if you just got rid of the guns from the citizens, and then you wouldn't need the guns from the police, and then, you know, a SWAT call would be like, knock the door down and come in, but, you know, there'd be no issue with anyone getting shot or anything. It's just not going to happen. Obviously that's never going to happen. It's a pipe dream, and it's obviously not my place to say either. I just, you know, I'm an arrogant arsehole that, you know, wants to just if they just put me in charge, it would be fine. But sadly that's not the case. The other thing, of course, sort of related to this, is what has been going on in Ferguson, which I actually haven't heard anything about too recently.
The media hype has died down, unfortunately.
Yeah. But of course, I think, again, what happened there with this kind of militarization of police is the initial response from law enforcement was so overblown that it only served to make the situation worse. It wasn't a proportional response at all. And the problem with that is that if you, through all of this reallocation of military hardware and all these grants from the Department of Defense and that kind of thing, if you give police departments that kind of firepower or that kind of hardware, and then they're faced with a situation like they were faced with in Ferguson, you kind of can't blame them for using it. I mean, obviously, the situation was really tense there. There's a lot of racial tension as well. Clearly, that's kind of what started the whole thing off. And if you give the police force that kind of equipment and put them up against, you know, quite a scary mob of people, I would take all the equipment that I had at my disposal, just for self-protect, like, you know, to protect myself. And I don't think you can blame the officers for doing that. You have to look to the government, just kind of giving out this hardware willy-nilly to anyone who wants it. I mean, there's been some ridiculous cases of, like, small towns in New Hampshire having armored trucks, and it's like, well, you're never going to need that ever. But
the thing is, you could say that and then watch a fucking situation happens where somebody will need it for whatever reason, but
it's always dangerous to set policy from the most extreme outliers. You shouldn't focus on. I mean, something like Sandy Hook obviously was a massive tragedy, but it doesn't help to I mean, after that happened, people were saying, "Oh, we need, give the teachers guns and that kind of thing." And
Actually, it's just before that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know y'all are young, but I remember freaking Columbine, man. That sent people into like that was one of the biggest reality checks as far as what somebody could do in any public forum, let alone a school.
yeah.
I remember exactly when that happened. I was still in high school, and they increased the amount of police officers on the campus, and then I remember specifically there was this one kid who was like the computer nerd, whatever, and he did something fucking stupid. What he did was he went and changed every single wallpaper, right, on all the school campus, and he put a fucking Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Matrix, whatever, Neo. Where he put a picture of Neo, and then he put Trenchcoat Mafia on the bottom, and
Jesus.
because of that, they called like the bomb squad, and he got like interrogated, and all sorts of fucking crazy shit happened to him because of that sort of shit. So it's just like people, ever since events like that have been happening, the local police have been on edge everywhere, basically, and it's more of like being prepared for the worst. But I could understand why, them having that sort of equipment and being suited up to that degree could seem a little bit over the top or intimidating, but I'm kind of on the fence about it. I don't know if I necessarily agree wholeheartedly with them having that sort of thing or being prepared to that sort of degree, but at the same time, shit has been getting pretty crazy, at least here, with what the news likes to focus on. So, I don't blame it.
Yeah, the news never helps, does it? The media hype, especially around things like, I think it's long been thought, and I don't know if it's really been proven by a proper study or anything, but the amount of media coverage that things like Sandy Hook and Columbine get only serves to glorify the killer.
Unfortunately.
And all it does is kind of put ideas in people's heads, people who might otherwise it might not have occurred to them to do something like that. People who already got mental issues or suffering from some kind of illness like that, and it just kind of propagates itself, which is obviously not what we want at all.
Yep.
So yeah, I think. Sorry, Ben, you didn't give you too much chance to talk there.
Pretty much said it's fine. I'm sort of the one that if I don't feel I can add something really, worth saying to the discussion, then I won't repeat.
Well, maybe you'll have. We'll move on. Draw a line under the serious issue of police militarization and serial killers, because that's a little bit depressing.
It's deep. It goes, yeah.
And we'll talk about Jennifer Lawrence's tits.
Oh yeah, let's get into that.
I'd just like to point out that I'm in fact not a misogynist. That I have not.
Really.
I have not actively searched out any of these images, actually.
But he's also.
But people on your Twitter feed definitely have.
People on my Twitter feed, I have seen a few of them. I didn't want them; they were thrust upon me.
I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with looking at that sort of stuff, but it's just it's kind of
there's a natural curiosity there, isn't there?
Well, there's the whole event is just weird. Like it kind of happened at a weird time. Maybe it was purposely put out, a conspiracy to diffuse situation.
Oh my God, Illuminati!
A bunch of shit happening over there in Ferguson. Oh, let's go ahead and leak a whole bunch of celeb dudes and diffuse everybody's.
Yeah, it's very convenient. No, but I think possibly the greatest thing to come out of this whole story is just that the internet has called it the Fappening. That is just the fucking best thing ever. It's just great. But yeah, what I kind of wanted to, obviously, it sparked a whole thing about privacy issues and a load of feminist stuff as well about people should never share these images around. It's misogynist, male culture.
But in the end, it's just like
stuff.
It's not like these people were forced to take these photographs.
Yeah, but see, look, this is where I'm gonna go to, because I was listening to Linus Tech Tips. I don't know if you actually
Okay.
watched.
I watched them talk about this earlier actually
Yeah.
on the WAN
And
show.
I completely back up what he's saying. Like, a lot of people, a lot of sort of security people out there are going, oh, well, they shouldn't have put them on, they shouldn't have took them if they didn't want them being shared around this and that. But you have these intimate moments with people and you share them, and we're in this digital age where this is what people do. Not everyone can be with everyone else all the time, and these are people who, especially, actors and stuff, who travel a lot. They'd spend time in different countries. I mean, even sometimes months apart. So, I mean, they do this to keep that relationship going, and, just because you shared that with someone else doesn't mean that it's anyone else's right to share it with other people.
That's true.
You don't actively say, oh, well, you shouldn't have shared it with this person. It's not really how it works. It's like, I don't know, if I was counting money on a table and someone went by and take it, so, oh, you shouldn't have put the money on the table. Well, like, no, it doesn't give you right to steal it.
No, absolutely. I don't think it's really in any doubt that the hacking of people's private photos and that kind of thing is.
I love how it's called hacking as well.
Yeah, I say hacking. They just guess the passwords pretty
yeah.
much, and the funny thing is that, like Linus was saying, on his show, is Apple have lost quite a lot of market share over this. Like their share prices have gone down, and
not that much really for them.
Not for them.
Was it
Obviously,
proven
they're a
that it
huge
was
company, but
was it proven that it was through the iCloud? Because I saw a few articles that Apple was saying that it wasn't.
I know some of the images have come from other things in the past, and someone's had a library of it. But there are some more recent ones that did come from iCloud. But it basically came from them being able to get security answers for the celebrities, and basically just using simple username and passwords that they use.
Like
they basically
mining and
managed to find out enough information to figure it out. There was no hack of sort. There was no real breach. It was just that these people didn't be very secure with their their details.
It's unfortunate.
No, I think a lot of people. I mean, I'm probably guilty of it as well. I think we're all guilty of it to some extent. Like it's difficult to know sometimes how secure stuff really is.
Yeah.
And things like the security questions, like mother's maiden name and that kind of thing. If you're a celebrity, all that stuff's really easy to find out. It's just there, kind of on Wikipedia or wherever you want to find it. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is I actually posted this on Twitter at the time because I saw a pretty funny meme that someone had made on Reddit, which was kind of just pointing out the hypocrisy of everyone complaining about the NSA spying on everyone, and then the moment that all these nudes are leaked, everyone's sharing them around and like, oh, isn't privacy invasion great?
If it's not involving themselves, then they don't care.
Of course.
If it's like other people who are deemed to be famous, then they don't care. It's the same. It goes back to to this whole calling the police on people and things like that. I mean, if it was happening to yourself as much as them, then people wouldn't be doing it. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, it's nothing to do with me. It's to do with these people who seem out of reach. They don't seem in my society. They're not in my friends group. They're not people that I'm ever going to associate with, so who cares? It's sort of that sort of thing. But I just want to go back to something actually quickly, to the security thing. Now, it's always been this argument between how far do you go. I mean, it just reminded me of recently. I tried to change some details on my my network. I want to change some payment details, and basically, they've gone quite extreme without telling me with their security answers. They basically sent me an email, and I had 3 different security answers, but then they had a list of the possible questions that I chose for the answers. So not only did I have to match the answers, I had to pick which question I chose, and I'm like, I don't know which question I chose.
I would totally not remember that.
Yeah, they've gone the complete extreme. I mean, it is one way of doing it because they obviously have to guess which question they chose as well, but I'm now just like, no idea.
I think for me, the mobile text verification seems to be quite a good one.
Yeah,
that
is quite a...
My bank uses it, and also, obviously, you can set up the 2-step verification with YouTube as well for your Google account.
And Twitter.
And I didn't know it was for Twitter as well.
Yep.
See, I'm not that bothered about it. Someone can hack my Twitter and I don't really care. It'll just be slightly more inane bullshit than usual. So it's not really any different. But yeah, YouTube, because I'd heard quite a few people getting hacked on YouTube. Well, again, hacked. It's it's the sort of media definition of hacking. And as soon as I heard about that, and I think they introduced 2-step verification ages ago, As soon as I discovered that was a thing, I turned it on, and I've never, had any doubt that my YouTube account is pretty secure. So, yeah, I think you just got to be. People forget how, if a dedicated person wants to find stuff, that it's not that hard. I think people forget, and obviously, Linus was saying as well. Some people go, well, why don't they have a team of people managing this for them? They're famous. They can afford to have like a digital security guy or something like that, or someone advising them not to post these pictures online. But they're just people. Celebrities aren't really any different, and that's one of the things that's
online. Technically,
sorry,
they weren't putting them. They wouldn't put them in a public place. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course they weren't. Yeah, they weren't posting them for intending for other people to see them. But yeah, that's actually the thing that kind of struck me. Like I said, I didn't see very many of the pictures, but the ones that I did see, I was like, yeah, they're just people. Like, not really that special. When you turn off all of the cameras and the like Photoshop afterwards and all the makeup and everything, it's like they're just people. They're not that special. Sure, there's still attractive people, but it's the pedestal that we put celebrities on is ridiculous. I think I've never really subscribed to that celebrity culture, and if anything, it's stuff like this that makes me think I never want to be famous. I'm perfectly happy just like on the very tiny YouTube scale. In the grand scheme of things, it's nice to have a few viewers and people that come and like my stuff and that kind of thing. But in terms of like that A-list celebrity, some people really want that. Some people go on talent shows and on Big Brother and that kind of thing. They're like, oh, I want to be famous, and I've never understood that. I think I would hate being in the public eye all the time, paparazzi and all that shit. It's
extreme narcissism, man. That's what it is. Extreme people that crave and need that. It's just like, I mean, I guess all of us are a little narcissistic because we're online and we want everybody to see our content and like our videos. But
like my video, subscribe.
To want like that A-list status, like,
yeah,
I guess you have to have, unless you're thrown into it by some, circumstance of events. You have to be pretty narcissistic or feel that your talent is what should be at the top of whatever it is you're trying to do. But yeah.
Do you guys ever think that YouTubers, because obviously that PewDiePie hit like 30 million subs not that long ago.
Yeah.
And more I'm starting to see YouTubers work with not just gaming companies but sort of regular companies, and esports of course is also on the rise in popularity.
Yeah.
Do you think that we'll reach a point where sort of famous pro gamers and live streamers and YouTubers will be under the same kind of scrutiny and paparazzi and that kind of thing that sort of actors and
I think it's eventual.
Like that?
Yeah,
I think it's eventual because I mean these people that have large channels or large any online presence, I mean they're famous to a degree, enough that if they're at like at least an event that caters to some of their audience, they're going to have a lot of people on them. But I think as more as this as the internet grows and all this sort of media becomes more popular, especially in the younger generation and people that grow up with it, I wouldn't see why an internet celebrity could become a legitimate celebrity. I mean, what's his name? This one YouTuber, Pogobat, I see him on MTV now or doing like actual TV shows and stuff like that. So a lot of people move in that category.
There are doing stuff. Have their own TV shows and stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, the media just feeds what people want to see and what people want to read. They'll only make stuff that people are going to read. So if the society continues to move in the direction that that's what they want to know about and that's what they surround themselves in, then that's where it's going to go.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, I kind of like the fact at the moment that even YouTubers that are huge in that community, people like Syndicate and KSI and PewDiePie and that kind of thing, if they go to an event like PAX or Eurogamer or something like that, they are mobbed by fans. Like, if you saw them, they would probably, if you put them and like George Clooney or Will Smith or some really famous Hollywood star, if they both went to that event, I'm pretty sure more people would still go and see Syndicate or someone like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, if Will Smith would go like to a public forum, like an actual, not a specialized gaming event, but like to a public place, and then you put Syndicate in that place, who's going to get modded more?
Yeah,
you know what
obviously
I mean?
Will Smith would win there, but no, I quite like how it is right now, where we do have people making a really good living off of YouTube, and sort of that they get that celebrity status within a certain community rather than a sort of on a global level. But I actually wouldn't. While I think it would be really cool to see esports continue to get more popular and more widespread and that kind of thing, I think it would be really cool if sometime in the future you have kids like missing lessons at school, like they might for a football game or a rugby game or something like that. They've got to go and train for like a CS:GO tournament. I don't know. I think that would be really cool. But
isn't one or two universities? Don't they have like a pro gaming scholarship or something like that?
Yeah, there are some. I've seen some pop up.
I didn't know.
mean,
that's really cool.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I wouldn't see why that wouldn't be a thing. But the problem is with games like that, like there's in a grand scheme, they're flavors of the month. I mean, as far as like pro gaming goes, I mean things are always changing. So kind of weird.
Yeah, I think for it to take the next step, they need a proper governing body, almost like you have the NFL or something like that. If you have that for, I don't know if they'd have it for a specific game, like a governing body for Dota 2 or something like that, or if you'd have a kind of body that represented all games. But I think they do need something like that with kind of clear rules and stuff about that. Things like players joining and leaving teams, because that happens way too much right now, especially in competitive COD.
Oh, yeah, in COD, it's just it's like everybody's changing like underwear, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know how they manage to get any kind of team chemistry going when they're switching people out every 5 seconds. But yeah, I think, although I think it would be really cool for esports to kind of reach a much more popular level, I'm not such a big fan of the idea of YouTubers and that kind of thing becoming more mainstream celebrities. I kind of like it how it is at the moment, and I'm sure they do too. I don't think they would be very happy with sort of paparazzi and that kind of thing. I can't imagine anyone would want that in their life, but maybe the extreme narcissists do.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there, let's move into the kind of last gaming topic that we have.
Okay.
I think we've been going for, not really sure, actually, a while.
About an hour, I'd say.
Yeah. But yeah, this GamerGate thing that's been sort of sweeping social media over the last few weeks. It all started off with Zoe Quinn. And her alleged kind of sleeping around in order to promote her game Depression Quest, in order to get better, favourable reviews. And this started off a whole debate about the kind of lack of integrity in games journalism, and it sort of spiraled out of control when, I don't know, it essentially turned into a big feminist versus misogynist gamers debate for a while, with channels like Feminist Frequency, who I've seen a couple of her videos, and she's quite an interesting woman. Not sure I agree with everything she says, but she does make some good points every now and again. It ended kind of recently with gamers kind of embracing the diversity of our community, and people tweeting using the hashtag #NotYourShield. Kind of saying, oh, I'm not actually a kind of white nerd male, like straight white male nerd, basically. The stereotypical gamer, like people saying, no, I'm actually, homosexual, or I'm of a different ethnicity, all of this kind of stuff. And I kind of just want to get you guys' thoughts on it, because it's kind of interesting how it's gone through so many different issues, this one kind of thing.
I think it's interesting that it took something. Well, I mean, I think there's always been some sort of bought market as far as gaming journalism goes. I mean, come on, like when COD gets like a 9 out of 10 like every year from
IGN, 9 out of 10.
It's just like, come on, man. It's obvious,
right
and
next
it's just
to
like
an Advanced Warfare advert. on the site.
Yeah, exactly. But it took a jilted ex-boyfriend to out his ex-girlfriend in order for these things to even be discovered, let alone, people to realize this is going on. I don't know. Like maybe it's a conspiracy. Maybe it was a whole marketing scheme by Zoe. You know what I mean? Like this put her in the spotlight and her game in the spotlight. And I guarantee you that game is going to possibly sell more because of all the controversy. So maybe it did work in the end. I don't know, but
I'm not sure if it's worth all of the horrific death threats she got.
Yeah, that's like, you know what, man? People on the internet are stupid, and those people, I don't even think they legitimately mean that kind of stupid shit that they say. I mean, sorry if I'm cussing a lot, but that's just that's the way I feel. People are going to be dumb. In any younger demographic gaming community, even though I don't think they mean most of what they say, but they think that's just a cool thing to say at the time. So of course they're going to spout the most stupidest, misogynist type of BS. But any rational anybody who's a rational human being would never say things like that. You, me, and Ben would never say things like that. But I mean, in any, like, even in any sort of media or any sort of mass group of people, you're gonna have a bunch of idiots that just scream louder than everybody else who's sane. So I don't know.
It's just the vocal minority of keyboard warriors once again. And usually where you find keyboard warriors, you find 4chan. Let's talk a little bit about 4chan just for a second.
Oh no.
It's kind of has a so I've basically never been on it because its reputation is so bad. Kind of as this cesspool of internet hatred
the armpit of
and
the internet, man.
Yeah, literally. It's like apparently there's like child porn and stuff on there, and it's just the worst place basically. I'll stick to Reddit. I think Reddit, has some pretty weird shit on it as well, but at least for the most part the community is not actually committing felonies. But yeah, 4chan were kind of orchestrating this big hate campaign against women, pretty much, and it led to all this feminist stuff. And I just wanted to kind of put it out there that no one's really surprised to start with that there is this like nepotism and corruption in the gaming industry. I mean, I haven't gone on IGN for about 3 years because I just don't trust anything that they put on there. I'll get my reviews from YouTubers, which I'll come on to in a second. I get my reviews from YouTubers that I trust, very specific ones.
Okay.
And then I'll see what my friends think of a game or something. I generally don't read game reviews. I kind of form my own opinion, and maybe I'll buy the game. If it's shit, then I'll sell it again. Although you can't do that with digital downloads, so fucking Steam. The drawbacks of PC gaming. It's like the only one I'll concede. But yeah, I mean, you said it didn't really surprise you, Pico. Ben, I'm guessing, it didn't really surprise you either, this lack of integrity.
Well, I mean, corruption is everywhere, right? And I mean, we're all going down this road going, oh my god, communist happens to the game industry. If you just look around you, I mean, any form of press, there's corruption. Any form of government, there's corruption. If you look into anything really particularly that has a form of stance, then with anyone's opinion, where people have an opinion or a decision about something, there's going to be corruption involved. So, I mean, I'm sitting here like going, okay, and do you know what I mean? Mostly, I'm sort of like, this is not going to change anything, not really. This is not going to make a big difference. Yes, it's good that people talk about this sort of thing and get a point across, and et cetera, but it's not really going to change the way things work. Not really.
And what about this not your shield thing of kind of finding out that when it seemed like if you disagree with what the sort of vocal, not all of them are kind of self-proclaimed feminists, but a lot of them are, and it's kind of, if you disagree with me, you must be a basement-dwelling white nerd who, that it just seems like I'll just dismiss your opinion and group you into this category.
But isn't that the internet for you though? If you disagree with anyone's opinion on the internet, you are ultimately a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's just lazy generalizations, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which of course are never get anyone anywhere. And it's honestly just a bit of a shit show, to be honest. And I don't really see all these hashtags and campaigns of various signs. They're like Kickstarter campaigns, and I don't really see what any of it's achieved, other than
really.
selling a load of ad space on news websites. So
Exactly.
Once again, the media circle jerk is the only winner, right? So there's not really much else to say about that. I had one more thing to quickly mention. I did mention PewDiePie a while back. And this is the ultimate in no one really cares news.
Yeah.
But apparently he disabled comments on his videos.
It's inevitable, I think. It was inevitable.
Yeah, I guess, we've spoken a lot on this show about...
I mean, what's his name did it? Total Biscuit did it. I don't know if I'm pretty sure other bigger YouTubers have done it, because I think once you reach a certain size, the comment section becomes kind of irrelevant. You just kind of ignore it because there's no information that you care to see. You're just scrolling through a bunch of shit. And nobody wants to dig through shit in order to find any gold. I know I wouldn't.
I mean,
I mean, all of us
did it for a while as well.
Yeah, I mean, all of us are smaller channels, so we have people that genuinely want to interact. But I think as you grow to any sort of degree, you have people just wanting to troll or don't have anything really worthwhile to say, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, and you just have to wade through so much meaningless.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to communicate with 30 million people? Even though a lot of them aren't active, who cares? How is anybody going to relate, let alone communicate with any of their fans?
Yeah.
It's such a shame, really, isn't it? I think when people get so big that the comment section is just completely spammed to shit, so they can't interact there. PewDiePie's got, over 2 or 3 million Twitter followers, so his mentions must just be going all the time. If he opened up TweetDeck, it just must be constant.
I mean, you can filter it to people you follow and stuff, but still.
Yeah.
But it just seems a shame that fans basically have no opportunity to ever have any kind of one-on-one conversation. But then, I guess that's a symptom of them moving towards that little bit closer to that A-list celebrity thing. I mean,
it's the same for them.
I suppose I don't really find it weird that I kind of have accepted the fact that I'm not going to have a one-on-one with famous actors and that kind of thing. So I guess I shouldn't really expect any different from people in the YouTube
that's
scene.
kind of true. That's kind of true. I mean, how many people are disappointed that they can't contact their favorite celeb? It's just, you got to understand they're on a different level.
I mean, the best thing you can hope for is that one day you'll be in a similar location to them and you can have a brief chat with them or whatever. That's the best you can hope for, really, is that you'll see them in real life at some point.
You're a gamer. It's going to be fun. That's all I'm going to say.
Should be good.
So we've got through all of the topics that we had lined up.
That's good.
Probably a bit of a shorter show today than I was hoping, obviously, because we only got the 3 of us, missing 2 guests. Scrubs. The scrubs without webcams are the ones that didn't show up. But moving on to... So a quick shout out. I just realised that I'm the most terrible host ever and completely forgot to mention our sponsor for this week at the start of the show. So we're gonna absolutely promote the shit out of him now. Because much to my surprise and joy, we do actually have our first paid sponsor on the second episode of the show, which is awesome. So we have YodaTheSniper, whose YouTube URL, if I just pull this up here, is the youtube.com/megamythicalcreature, and he hasn't got too many videos up on his channel, but what I'm really hoping is if we go over there and show him some love, it might boost him, encourage him into making some more content, because what he has made is pretty cool. He's got a little Battlefield cinematic up on there, and some other things as well. PC player.
Channel? I'm going to have a look right now.
Mega Mythical Creature. But yeah, YodaTheSniper, he's a loyal sub of mine and of many other people in the Battlefield community, especially. Really, really nice guy. So go and give him a follow on Twitter, give him a sub on YouTube. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show, dude. If you're interested, as it says on the overlay, then send me a quick email at TheRoflRaptor@gmail.com, and we can sort something out for you as well. But yeah, I'm sorry I forgot that at the start of the show. We did actually have some technical issues. This is our second time recording it. We got about 10 minutes in, well, about 5 minutes in to start with, and I had to cut off because we had some issues, so I was probably distracted by that. But there we go, promoted him now. And that leads us nicely into the last thing we're going to cover is the Q&A section. So just to remind you guys watching, this is where you can submit stuff for this in the comment section below. Silly questions, serious questions, anything to kind of spark off a conversation, anything you want us to talk about, then go ahead and leave that in the comments down below. But I actually saw a quite good one on the Ask Reddit page on Reddit just yesterday. And that was, what's the worst kind of player? It was addressed to the gamers of Reddit, and I thought this was quite a good topic, especially with 3 Call of Duty guys here. It's there's just too many to choose from.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Really, the worst kind of player in a multiplayer game. I have actually been playing a lot of CS:GO recently, and relating to that game, the worst kind of player is... See, I thought the worst kind of player was the guy who goes into a competitive match without a mic, with no... they're usually foreign as well, so they can't type in the chat. So you essentially have a teammate that just does their own thing. They don't listen to anything you say. And in Counter-Strike, for those of you who don't know, that's really bad. Like, you need to work as a team in that game. There's only 5 of you. When 20% of your team is just some Russian kid doing whatever he wants, it's kind of bad. So I thought that was the worst guy. But it's not actually. The worst guy is the little French kid who is playing music through his microphone. So he has a mic, but he's no use. That's just rubbing salt in the wound, man. I can't deal with it. It just angers me. So...
So basically, they're just green triangles.
They're just green triangles. They're green triangles that run the opposite way to everyone else and die instantly, leaving you with a man down right at the start of the round. It's horrific. Mm-hmm. So Ben, you said you had one in mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to yours, but it's a little bit different because people with a mic, yes, I think. However, it's just people that try really hard and then all they do is shout abuse at everything. If they get shot, they die. They just swear at people. If they do well, then they're just going on about it for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's me, but I don't go in game chat because I'm courteous.
If you're doing well, great. I don't care. If you're winning the game, that's cool. Carry on. But the person who's then having to go with everyone else because they're not doing the same thing as them or they've done something to them in the game, whatever, then I just get out. I haven't got time for you. So that's the worst. I think I'd rather someone not have a mic than do that.
There's plenty of them in Counter-Strike as well. People who think they're in a pro team, and they're shouting directions down, and then despite the fact that they were the one who died first, they're criticizing how everyone else is playing the game.
You call those e-coaches. They're a bunch of e-coaches, man. They're trying to coach everybody else on their team.
Man. Best e-coach the world's ever seen, man.
Yeah.
What about you, Pico? Have you got?
I guess I could agree. I mean, I'm not much of a Counter-Strike player, but maybe I should get into it. I noticed a lot of my buds here on YouTube that are starting to play CS:GO a hell of a lot more than what I did notice when it first came out.
There's been a mass exodus to it recently, especially in the Battlefield community. I think people have got really fed up with BF4. And CS:GO offers a really good...
It's a honed experience.
Yeah, it's really different to anything else I've played, and the learning curve is really steep with that game as well. It's a challenging game to get used to, but it's a lot. Provided you've got a group of people to play with, trying to learn it solo, I imagine would not be fun. But luckily, I had quite a few friends who were playing it, and they just kind of let me tag along, helped me win a load of games. So I was ranked really high when I first got ranked, which was kind of nice. Although that did mean I was then way out of my depth. So I guess it's maybe not the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, dude, you should definitely get into CS:GO.
Yeah, I need to. Was it $20 on Steam?
Yeah, it's on sale. Because it's a Valve game, it's on sale all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll be down to get that. But I agree with you and Ben, the person who yells at everybody for doing everything else wrong, but of course they could do no wrong.
But I mean, perfect.
but I agree. I sometimes fall in that camp, especially when I decide to play Call of Duty these days, which isn't very often. just for videos at this point. But yeah. But I mean, your typical camper, whatever. Like that's going to happen to any shooter, man. I mean, you can't get rid of those types of people, and there's always going to be people trying to abuse whatever equipment's in the game. But I don't know. But yeah, the e-coaches drive me nuts too, man.
I think the other thing I've kind of come across recently on Counter-Strike and other games as well, it's just hackers, man.
Oh, yeah, PC,
what?
yeah.
How do you find it enjoyable to run around the map with wall hacks and God mode on? How is that fun? So you win because you cheated. I just don't. I don't understand these people.
It's not the win. It's because of your reaction right now.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why they enjoy it. That's why they enjoy it.
I don't even think that is always the case. That I think some of them are actual trolls that just want to piss people off. Yeah. But there are better ways of doing that if you just want to piss people off. I genuinely think that there is a group of people that actually find it enjoyable to win just because they're cheating. And I don't understand that mindset at all. Especially with a game like Counter-Strike, where it's all about, it's a much higher skill game than something like COD. I mean, hacking in COD is annoying, but with my knowledge of the player base of COD, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because going from sitting in a corner with IEDs and sitting in a bush with IEDs and a thermal LMG, to me, it's not that big of a step to go from that to hacking. Like, it's like you're quite a bit of a cunt, and then it's just a little bit of a step to go to full-on retard mode. And so I just, but I in a game like Counter-Strike, I don't understand it. I don't see the appeal.
I don't understand that either. That's kind of silly. It's like the people that DDoS and League play. It's like, well, your rank isn't legit, stupid. Like, you're just kicking people offline, you ass. Like,
it's so shiny. I cheated to get it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it either, man. It's a special breed of idiot, I guess. So.
I mean, I help run a game server on Minecraft, so I mean, I have to deal with this sort of thing all the time. I'm constantly looking at footage to decide if this guy is hacking or not, and because Minecraft is the sort of game it is, it's full of people doing it, and I'm just like, just stop. You're just going to get banned, and then you can't play, and then you just gain nothing, Exactly. And it's just, and like, it's only like something like Minecraft should be like fun anyway. It's not a particularly competitive game, even though you are playing stuff like survival games and stuff, which can be quite competitive, and you're getting into it and stuff. It's still like, it's just a bit of fun. It's a cartoon game, just like you're going to gain nothing out of it. So just. It just drives me at the wall, but we see it all the time, and it's depressing.
Wow. I really think those types of people.
Hey, leave Minecraft out.
No, well, it's just that, like, really, you're gonna of all the you're gonna hack.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't believe the amount of people. We ban loads of people every day for hacking.
I wouldn't doubt that those types of people that pull those types of things are extremely lonely in their real lives. Because that's the only way they could ever get attention. They can't receive attention through trying to, make legitimate friendships over the internet. They would rather get the attention from making other people angry at them. Therefore, making them even more lonely, putting them on their own island, even further and further away every single game that they play. I think it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually feel quite a lot of empathy for these people sometimes, because the idea that if you're the kind of person that is hacking or is trying to get celebrity nude photos, or if you're the kind of person that's tweeting Robin Williams' daughter after he commits suicide and saying like you're glad that it happened, or saying that it was her fault or something like that, if you're really that low down in terms of the kind of human spectrum of people, then you just have a really miserable life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's young people who are just like kind of neglected by their parents and I think a lot of them are kind of teenagers or young teenagers who are completely neglected by their parents to some degree. Like, their parents are working all the time and they just have free roam over the internet and over the house, and they get to do whatever they want. They obviously don't get out that much, and it just, I don't know. It does make me sad. It makes me kind of think like you're a person you could have had a lot of potential. Like maybe they're really intelligent, and maybe they could have gone on to be something. But
Well, that's hackers in general, though. People who are genuine hackers and genuinely do that. There are people that could be, earning a lot of money in, in the technology industry, developing stuff for, for companies and stuff. Whereas they're sitting there hacking those companies instead and not gaining much from it.
well, that's the thing. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? How sometimes when hackers do actually get prosecuted and sent to jail, right out of jail, they get recruited by the CIA or someone.
Yeah.
Because they have a really useful skill set.
There was a guy once, I don't know if you remember a little while, well, years and years ago, that basically what he did he found this little hack, well, he found this little trick where if he took so many pence out of loads of people's bank accounts, he'd actually get a lot of money, but people would notice it because people don't care for 2p leaving their bank account so much. If you saw 2p left your bank account, you go, okay, but it's not a big deal to you. It's not like £20 things. But he did to so many people that he earned a lot of money from stealing, from hacking his way from when online banking was sort of kind of new still, getting that sort of money from those sort of accounts, and he got caught out in the end. But it was a clever way that he managed to do it.
That is clever.
Gave him the props, yeah. But he didn't actually get sent to jail or anything like that. He actually now works in security departments of online banking. So I mean, he's now
funny
an online advisor.
Yeah, you can turn the what is it, the black hat hackers into white hat hackers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Here's one thing I never understood, man. If you're gonna hack a game, people that have the knowledge to do wall hacks or whatever, that actually do make these programs, why not hack the game to remove the bullshit? If you're gonna hack like a Call of Duty, remove the fucking IED from the game or something and lobby, something like that, something that people would legitimately enjoy. Like
that would be awesome.
Improve it, don't ruin it, man.
I can imagine like V from V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine like a guy like that with like a Twitter profile and a Reddit account and everything, like going and white knighting all these games and being like, IEDs, I'm not in Ghosts anymore. I buffed the base health by 50%. Now it's actually fun. Like just going and fixing all the bugs that the game devs cannot be asked to do, or just don't understand how to make their game fun. That would be awesome. I'd be really interested to see how the community dealt with someone like that, because obviously they would, at first people would be like, whoa, what the fuck is this guy doing? But people would be like, holy shit, the game's actually so much better now, and like the devs would be trying to ban them, and people would probably start campaigns to get them reinstated and that kind of thing. That would be really cool. But I mean, you mentioned the hackers with that skill set, obviously that they have actually put in the time to learn all of that stuff, and they might have a career or something in security or that kind of thing, but really like the people that don't even have that, the people that don't have, they're not hacking, they're just typing vitriol on Twitter, and it's like you have nothing to offer, like nothing to offer the world whatsoever. And it's just it is sad. I wish I could kind of reach out and just be like, just go and just stop. Just go and do something else. This is not the place for you.
Yep.
But
well, I mean, there've always been these people, but it's just now the internet has allowed us to highlight those people.
Oh, absolutely. And the people they come to the fore with something like GamerGate or whatever. Suddenly, all of the misogynists on 4chan suddenly get a load of press, and then a week later we just go back to kind of pretending that they don't exist. Even though they quite obviously do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah,
because I'm getting kind of hungry, and we've got through everything. It was a pretty good show. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, even though we had a few issues and a couple of guests obviously didn't make it, but hopefully we managed it all right with just the three of us. I'd like to do a quick shout out once again for YodaTheSniper. Or youtube.com/megamythicalcreature because obviously YodaTheSniper, sorry. Thank you very much, dude. Sorry I didn't shout you out earlier. I'm sure he'll forgive me, hopefully. But yeah, Netcode Podcast episode 2. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you again probably same time next week. Bye.
Bye.